Now, I cannot share how excited I am to get a chance to talk to you, Jeff. And I would like to throw it over to you to introduce yourself. So, welcome to the Building Resilience podcast series for Mental Health Month. Can you share a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, my name is Jeffrey Morgan. I'm a proud Gamilarey man hailing from Walgett, New South Wales. It's about 8 hours out of Sydney, although I grew up in Everleigh Street, Redfern, one of Australia's most notorious streets for the wrong reasons. I became a byproduct of that environment. Got myself in trouble for a good period of time. 12 years ago, decided to turn my life around and headed in a different direction to take all the lessons of the journey into a happier, healthier, and more successful life. And then turn that into a program as a nutritionist, online trainer, and mental health and wellbeing first aider that travels the globe, delivering these programs with everyone from schools, corporates, Department of Defence, hospitals, unis, health services, individuals, and we're just passionate about changing and saving lives.
Yes, there is so much that I value in what you do and who you are and what you bring. So thank you so much for being part of this series. I was fortunate enough to meet Jeff at, the Indigenous Wellbeing Conference held on Larrakia land earlier this year. And
Great.
one thing that really resonated with me from hearing you speak is how important it is to work together, sometimes to not just work in silos, but to find ways to collaborate stronger. And when we're dealing with community is to build up entire stakeholder groups. Why aren't we looking at not just the individual, but why are we looking at community as a whole? So it's the stakeholders around the children, it's the teachers, it's the parents, it's the community members, the workplace leaders, as well as the individuals. So I admire what you do, and I am incredibly grateful that there are people like you in the world that are out there to pass on this wisdom, right?
Yeah, and I think that's you mentioned something in amongst that resilience, and sometimes we look for an absolute leader to give us that resilience in a moment of darkness, maybe as an example. But what we've sort of got to realize is lived experience is huge, and I think the day of social media, or the days of social media now, mean that we have access to these pure experts, these professors, doctors, who are sharing information and education to empower us to make better choices at a quicker pace if we step into that place. And I think these conversations are really important because it does give people access and an opportunity for us to understand, hey, this person does have a solution. You don't have to go through something to build resilience. You could actually listen to someone to actually gain the education and empowerment to sort of get a bit of an understanding around what resilience looks like, feels like, and what it's built from, and then be able to deal with things in life, in business, in communities, in a better sense, by getting or gaining a better understanding of the situation, and that inner standing. And when I say inner standing, more towards our inner self, how we're built. We don't get this doctrine or book of life that says, hey, this is how we should be building resilience, or this is what happens when you go through these dark moments or struggles through life, but more so sitting down with other individuals who have been through it, being taught that individual conversation to allow them to gain their own perspective and solution or outcome when they step into a situation where resilience is muchly needed. So I thank you for even bringing me into this conversation.
Yeah, no, fabulous. So can you share with me, why does this work resonate with you? So why is building resilience so important?
I'll give you context to the story. I lost both parents to cancer, a brother and sister to suicide, and another brother to a preventable health issue. I grew up in Everleigh Street, as I said. It was a community that saw a lack of role modelling, which meant that I became a byproduct of that environment. And then we had so many people who had overdosed, had drug or alcohol issues from trauma that they'd carried in from past experiences. And I think to people aren't with us on this planet anymore because they didn't have the resilience. They didn't have the tools. They didn't have the ability to regulate the emotions or know how to deal with the situation that they were in. And that's where it stemmed from. And then over time, I realized that whether it was dealing with young kids through to these soldiers, elite soldiers, we all had things going on in the background, and there was different components of life we hadn't dealt with, or didn't have that manual of life, as I spoke about before, to deal with the situations that would come up. And that's where my passion grew, because we were losing people, and that number continues to raise on a regular basis. And not only losing people, a lot of people are lost before they're even lost. And what that means is before they even leave this planet, they walk around in such darkness, even at a corporate athlete, soldier level. How can we impact and create better change so that people are happier, healthier, and more successful than they've ever been? And more importantly, they walked around with a lot of inner peace because they're tapping into their inner self. And I think that's just a huge conversation for society in general. What's that look like for yourself? I don't know, but if you're not tapping into it and we're not helping you see that, then you're never going to be what you can't see.
Yeah, absolutely. Some very powerful words there. And I do resonate with, I'll word it like this, the pedestrian that's got its head down, there's disengaged, and, we all need to find our purpose, so it really sounds like there's more potential for us to share the knowledge that if we're purpose-led, to share that knowledge with others, to empower them, to lift them up.
Absolutely. We do intentional living with people, and we ask them what their happiness or inner peace looks like, just as two examples. And people sit there dumbfounded as to, I don't actually know what that looks like. I've had that answer so many times throughout our workshops.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, that's a really sad, way of thinking, that people within our society are at the level where they don't even know what that looks like. And there's, if they're not knowing what the simplest things look like, imagine trying to do something like step out of trauma, stress, work towards a brighter future, create a business, anything of a belief within your life. You're not going to have it if you can't even identify the simplest things, because your self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence is at an all-time low. And that's being able to show up. The definition of success to me is being able to move from failure to failure, but to keep the enthusiasm going throughout. And that means that we're not looking at something as a failure, but what are the lessons I'm learning on this journey to grow and prosper in this beautiful thing we call life. And I think when we shift that mentality, we create a better reality, change your language, change the outcome, and a brighter future awaits for any single person that steps into that realm or space.
I can tell that the pathway for mentoring is very important in your delivery.
Absolutely.
Can you share with us a little bit more what makes you unique? So what is it that you're offering to workplaces or schools? So what's the point of difference there?
Yeah, we do 84 different modules. Those modules weren't from any other program. They came out of my head, lived experience. Wow. And, like I look back on, and I always say to people, you've got to realize what you have. Some people have such a uniqueness about themselves, a skill, a strength, whatever you want to call it, the tools to equip other people to deal with things in life, whether it's an athlete trying to become and get that 1% more. Many of our athletes over time started out without a coach, and then over time we develop the skills, and we can go to that coach who's acquired all these bits of gold that passes it on to yourself in a short period of time, so you can elevate within life. And I think for me, I endured so much, and I kept crawling, moving, running forward towards my perfect life, because I had structure, I had discipline, and to be able to teach people after 18 years of distress within my life, and then be able to change ingrained behaviors, habits, and rituals. It's like quitting smoking, quitting drugs or alcohol, telling yourself that you're going to lose weight to come January 1st, and by January 7th you've fallen off. what is the difference between myself and those individuals? And it was me sitting down and really working through all of those modules in my head and saying, hey, here's how I was built. Here's how I shifted a lot of those thoughts. And we as humans are just built in a particular way. And I know this because we dealt with about 500,000 people over the last 3 years. And with those people, we just found that we're built very similar. But those that are built differently will far outperform the others, because it's around how your thought process operates, or your operating system within your brain, right? And everything that you are programmed to believe and achieve, based around the environments that you put yourself into, the time, energy, and effort that you actually give those environments. And I think that's the difference between us, that lived experience, and not tapping into, not being influenced by, hey, this is what we need to do, this is what mental health, resilience, leadership looks like, but more so, hey, how did you achieve it on an individual level at a real depth, and how did you unpack that to be able to then teach other people, so you built individual capacity to teach these individuals how to rewire their whole mindset, and plug in, a high performance habit and ritual program into the individual. And that means that they come out, as I said, healthier, happier, and more successful than ever before.
Fantastic. So you work with people individually as well as in groups?
Yeah, so we've got the online program. The online program has, with our online app, has over 4,000 resources. Everything from your mindset, habits and rituals, self-love, self-care, self-worth, challenges as an example, nutritional training, resources around education towards every component of leadership, trauma, stress. And that means that people can tap in and do something on a regular basis. We know through our program and the data that we've collected, 93% success rate from those that participate on a regular basis. And that means that and we're talking people who have been through 40 years of childhood abuse, over 20 years worth of drug and alcohol or substance abuse for periods of time that could shift and change within 30 days. And just as some of the examples. And I think that's, once again, we went and, for me, everything was designed on the listening and learning of the individuals on the other side, rather than saying, here's the data and here's what I think we need and here's what we should create. Here's what I actually went out and said, I'm going to listen to the community. I'm going to listen to the gaps within these people. And I was really on the ground when I designed a lot of my modules combined with my individual self. And I think that's where I didn't just get a sort of generalized standard answer. I really went away and listened to these individuals. And that meant I was very specific in every sort of component and design of those 4,000 pieces of resources that they can tap into and use. And with some real-time messaging, it means that we're on call 24/7 as a team to tap into individuals. And we've had it many a time where we've changed, but most importantly, save their lives, because at the time of the darkest hour, they've been able to reach out and have that conversation, and then build the resilience on the back end of that conversation, where they go into a whole new world. And let's say they're operating a business as an example, and doing something that they just never thought possible in their wildest dreams, because they were in such darkness, 30 days prior. That's powerful.
Absolutely. And it really does sound like there's such a wealth of knowledge and resources there, with over 4,000 or more pieces, that people can tap into. So what an offering.
A lot of effort.
I can tell.
A lot of effort with my grandmother taught me at one point in time. She was suffering emphysema, and she was at the back end of her time, and I was sitting there. She goes, "Son, you look sad." And I was like, "Oh, you're going to leave this planet." And she turned to me and said, "Oh, son, I'll never leave this planet." And I remember turning back to her and looking at her going, "Do you know something I don't know?" And she just said, "Look, son, I've taught you all the knowledge that I have acquired over a period of time, and you're going to go out to the world and pass it on. So my spirit will forever walk this planet." And I think so many people have taken on the advice and knowledge that she shared, and I've passed on. And as I said, that's where that resilience for me when I get tired, I think about someone's mother, brother, cousin, daughter, son being on the end of a dark hour, and maybe we are that shining light for that individual. And whether that means that the business operates at a better level, whether it means that someone keeps their mother at home, whether it means that someone doesn't go into a hospital suffering from mental health, we're just passionate about seeing people really tap into their truest form of happiness defined by them, and working towards that on a regular basis.
Yep. Fantastic. And what a legacy it is that you are leaving. Now, I just come to my final question is, how can we help you? So Mind Blank stakeholders, like there are people in this Building Resilience series that are like-minded in values. You know, some could have specific networks that could be of value to your stakeholder groups. And of course, you are aware that Mind Blank, we don't just work with workplaces. There are some children and youth services. There are some First Nations-led organisations, different communities. So what is it that would be of interest? How can we help you?
Yeah, it'd be more like just the awareness that we exist. I think that's the biggest thing. We, and anyone that does want to get in contact and sits down and says, wow, this is awesome. I feel that I resonate and I feel that this person could help us, or our team could help yourself. Jump on the website, jeffreymorgan.com.au, JEFFREY, and basically have a look as to how that would work with yourselves and what you run. We feel that we're a beautiful billboard in the middle of a desert. And that means that we've got so much to offer, yet we just don't have the awareness that we exist. So anytime we can reach out, or somebody can put us in contact with somebody that says, hey, this could change or save somebody's life, the depth of it, the passion behind it, the depth of the resources, the knowledge that we've acquired, and the interactions that we've had with communities, corporate, schools, hospitals, and so forth. It's built a really strong and resilient business. We've had tough times during that time because we aren't government funded, and we do rely on people reaching out and saying, hey, we'd love to work with yourself. And then on the back end of that, obviously, if you could work with us, and people that have worked in this industry understand there's no point. Many people get us out the door talk and say, hey, he's great, come and do a talk. The talks, in this day and age, it's just not sustainable. It's not realistic, and it's not something that's going to help build trust, which I know is huge in any environment. You look at any relationship. So we'd love to work with someone who wants to work with us long term, even if that's a 10-week program, on a weekly basis, once a month, over the year as an example, where we do workshops online or virtual during the in-between visits, and they have access to the app on the back end of that, where they can access us 24/7 as well. We just love people to know that we exist, and that's probably the reason why that not only we connected, but I'm all about networking and just letting people know, hey, maybe it isn't something that you or you just want to plug more value into what you already do. That's probably a better way of putting it. And I think once people understand that conversation, we'd love to just be able to sit down with yourself, have that conversation, see if it aligns. Most people jump straight in right away because they understand the depth of our passion and willingness to change, including yourself. And I thank you for the chance, the opportunity to get out there, have a quick conversation. And this quick conversation for us, we give up our time, energy, and effort towards any environment. But I do it because, as I said, my grandmother made me passionate about something. My family community may reinforce that even deeper. And I'm just at a point where I'd love to be able to see people not leave this planet way too early. And when I say that, more so people that are already on the planet, meaning they're just walking around not feeling that they are worth what they should be worth based around their uniqueness on this planet. So thank you, Ali.
No problem. What a wonderful way to wrap up all of your messages there. I do believe that you are in the right place when it comes to you saying you're not just interested in the one-off talk, right? Because to build proper resilience and behavioral change, we need to be able to plan longer term. So I hear you there, and let's bring it forward to conversation for others.
Like, we don't get us wrong, we do talks, but if it's at conferences or stuff of that nature, as we met, but if it's a program for community, and when I say community could be at your organisation, your school, your local community, a health service, whatever it may be, please think long term. And even if that doesn't include me, let the message be that trust, resilience, people showing up, knowing that they have somebody there, builds that resilience within the community that we need to shift where we currently are and move away from the numbers that continuously increase on all levels. And until we do that, we're going to keep stepping into a space where they continue to increase. And if we're all about decreasing those numbers, and it's not really a thought, it's just about mine is more, how much can we impact the individual in the environment that we step into? And then we know we send more leaders out into the community around the choices we're making. I think that's the message behind that whole conversation.
Definitely.
Make it long term, make it sustainable, and make it realistic with the people that you're working with.
100%. And what a fantastic note to end on. So there is a powerhouse in front of me. Jeff is open and available to chat. We are looking for people who are interested in looking at different wellness tactics that are open for a conversation. And let's keep raising the profile and getting your stuff out there, because I love what you're doing, and no doubt you are touching so many lives. So thank you for everything you do for community.
I appreciate you, Ali. Thanks for your time.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to bringing the final stories to you all through this series. More conversations coming soon.